Sir, New world. Old right now. Almost back to base. And it's gonna be a powerful session today, all right? Finishing up some work for the day. So I'm looking forward to today's episode. Today we're gonna talk about defeating your lower nature, your lower self. It's gonna be extremely powerful. Looking forward to today's broadcast, man. Y'all stay tuned, bear with me as I arrived to my destination. Hope everybody's been checking in, tapped in with me. I've been live every single day since last cycle, since last stream. Every single day there's been a contribution. If you want to tap in with those contributions, all you got to do is type in the self code, self is spelled CELLF, the self code, right? On YouTube, on Instagram, soon to be on TikTok, things like that, right? So looking forward to today's stream, man. Hope everybody's tapped in and doing what they're supposed to do today. Today is another opportunity to master your character, master yourself. All right? So y'all continue to tap in with me. Trying to get this set up real quick. I want to be held. Hold on real quick. It's getting warm out here in Arizona. That's where I'm coming from. Hope everybody's, wherever they're tapping in from, hope you stay hydrated, stay in tune, right, with your higher nature, right? I almost say your lower nature, right? So I'm about 3 minutes away from my destination. We'll go ahead and officially get started at that point in time. Send out some notifications. Yeah, baby. Got Blood of Luna on the track. Turn it up for y'all. Probably unheard by most of the world. There's some classics on here, man. Yeah. Give a fuck, yeah, don't give a fuck. I was way back in the cut. Why y'all looking like you out of love? I don't wanna fuck. That bitch tell me what she wanna love. Listen to the word. All it's fuck for us. Hey, come on me, baby, let's get it on. Let's get it on, yeah. It's gonna be a powerful session today, man. It's what we do. Tap in every single Monday, all right? Very soon, next cycle, as of next cycle, I'll be live on Sundays and only on Sundays, right? Not only on Sundays, actually. I have a group that's called the Master Table, if y'all have known. And that group will be going live every single Monday. So we'll continue our Monday streams. I myself, I'll be doing a Sunday service, all right? Every single Sunday, y'all can come tap in live on IMC TV and know that you're going to get some value. You're going to get some unheard words, if you will, right? Some spoken words from asking myself. We're going to have some musicians tapping in. It's going to be a whole creation, right? So y'all look forward to that. Go ahead and change the song one time. Make sure everybody's in alignment. Tapped in. Going live again. It's one of my favorite songs right here. We're gonna tap in shortly. Great.
Yes, it's looking at the every single bag, moving out the house, I think I had enough. As a man, I ask for so day and night is passing. Ain't that the soul, cause I'm pissed up. Smoking out the every single bag, moving out the house, I think I had enough. As a man, I ask for so day and night is passing. I'll be back to slow in Mexico City. Yeah, no bitty, so big, okay. I've been working working hard, steady working towards, gotta go on, only moving forward. All it takes is time, gotta flip the dime. When I can't decide, find my peace of mind. It's our only time, you and me combined. We like fine wine, purely divine. To the top is where we climb. At the top is where we shine. To the top is where we climb. At the top is where we shine. Future tells you what we know it is. Only truth like universal poet. I ain't on. Forget it, blue heroic, very stoic. Never drifting on my focus in the moment. Yes, practice ain't no bad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going to tap in shortly, man. Let me make sure the music's still playing. You feel me? Listen, go ahead, man. That's what's up. Pass, no. All right. Appreciate everybody's patience. Tapping in. Once again, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Master's Table. Hope y'all come in and have a seat. You feel me? We're gonna tap in. All right, salute, official salute to everybody from across the world, man. It's the one and only Master myself. I'm here live from Phoenix, Arizona, as I mentioned ahead of time. All right, this is another opportunity in time for you to level up, right? Level up in character, level up in perspective, and know and recognize what it's going to take for you to truly take your life to the next level, right? To become your higher self, to become who it is that you really want to be and do what it is that you want to do here in this lifestyle, right? So wherever it is that you're tuning in from, wherever it is that you're doing, right? I want you to take this moment in time and recognize that you have an opportunity to change your mind, to change your circumstance, to change the situations that you find yourself in at this point in time, right? Your life is never stuck where it's at. You can always change. You can always transmute. You can always evolve and grow in perspective, right? You can always become a greater version of self. You can always shift into the next dimension. You can always change your reality. And there's only you that's stopping you from becoming exactly who you want to be and doing exactly what it is that you want to do, all right? So it's an honor, of course, to tap in with you. Know first and foremost that everything that I do and say here is done under the banner of entertainment, all right? So don't take what it is I say seriously. Number two, of course, this is for adults and adults only, all right? If there are kids in the room, move to another room or put your earphones in, man. Be smart about it, all right? Number three, know and understand that everyone here, you must respect the laws of the land you're tuning in from, all right? Do not disrespect the laws of the land you're tuning in from unless those laws are oppressing you. Then you have the right to fight back and express yourself and your true character, all right? And next, and of course, not least, know and understand that everybody that's here is an adult. That means you're responsible for your own actions. Number five, of course, we are here. When you are at the master's table, you are at a table full of masters, meaning that you are a master, right? So I'm going to treat you as such and I'm going to address you as such, all right? So, you know, as a reflection in today's topic, right? Today I titled this session, what did I title this session? Oh, defeating your lower self or defeating your lower nature, right? The way that you're going to go about doing that is you got to actually recognize that there is a higher nature and there's a lower nature, right? There's a standard for how you are cooperating in your universe, right? And then there's a standard, right? So there's something that's below standards and there's something that's above standards, right? So regardless of where you're at on the scale, right, you have an ability to change and shift to the you know, the higher nature, if you will, or to the lower nature, right? Now, what do I mean by higher nature and lower nature? Let's explain it. Let's understand the crevices, if you will, right? Or let's understand the in-betweens as to what that really means, right? Well, to operate in your higher nature, for example, right? Let's start with the lower, right? To operate in your lower nature is to operate at a lower frequency and vibration, if you will, right? Where your communication, your action, your activities, your actions, your ethics, if you will, right, kind of go out the window, and you continue to operate at a frequency, right, that frequently, right, you are cooperating in your universe, right, at a lower standard, below your standards, right? So if you have standards or whatever your standards are, right, meaning what are standards, right? Standards are rules, boundaries, and and not settling for anything less than your standards, right? If there was a standard in which you came up to, right, you are coming up to your own baseline, if you will, right? You're coming up to your own, realm of what you allow that is acceptable, right, and what's not acceptable, right? So, if something is below your standards and there's something that's lower than what it is that you are standardly, meaning that on a baseline frequency, meaning at a neutral level, right? This is what you accept into your world. Now, some people don't operate with the sense of understanding that they have an ability to change the frequency in which they're operating on at, right? So, for example, oftentimes, the music that we listen to, right? The music that we've been programmed, the music that's been pushed and put in front of us, oftentimes is below the standards, right, of a higher frequency or higher intelligence, right, individual or being, right? So oftentimes we get caught up in living in this lower nature, right? And this lower nature is natural to exist there because we've made it natural, right? A lot of people have made it natural, made it normal, quote unquote, right, to operate in their lower nature, meaning that they're operating at a lower standard, right, of expectations, right? Lower standard of value, if you will, right? A lower standard of expression, meaning that they accept less than extraordinary. You see, I didn't come here in this life. This is something that you maybe have never, faced or answered or asked the question, right, from yourself and seen, what do you really value in this life, right? What is it that you truly admire about yourself, right? Maybe you've never taken on that perspective. So I encourage you to take on that perspective and see, like, how can you make what you're doing in this moment in time more important? Because whether you are aware of it or not, your life is actually very, very important. You're very important on this planet. You have a specific role. You mean something to somebody. You have a role. You have a specific role to play in this world, right? You are a character in your own movie. So keeping that in mind, I ask you the question, how are you going to interact with life from this moment on? How are you going to contribute to life from this moment on? What is the standard that you're setting for yourself on a daily basis? You see, every single day, we have certain standards that we come up to on a consistent basis, meaning that every single day we have a wake up, right? Every single day we have a lockdown. Every single day we have a physical practice and routine. I say we, I'm not just me, I'm IMC Nation. That's why this is IMC TV. So I encourage you to recognize the opportunity that you have in front of you to set a new standard, to set a new vibration, to set a new frequency, meaning that the things that you do frequently are creating the frequency or the level that you're operating on. So there's a higher nature once again, and there's a lower nature. Now we explained the lower nature, meaning that you're operating at a subpar level, meaning that everybody knows that you can be doing so much better in life. You can be doing exactly what it is that you said you were going to do. You can, be going after your goals and your dreams and your desires. You can be, seeking the betterment of self. You seek development of self, right? Oh, wrong button. Right? So wherever it is that you are, you have an opportunity to fine-tune your process, fine-tune the things in which you're doing on a consistent basis that help you to decide what level you're going to operate on. You could be operating on a lower level. You could be operating on a higher level, right? So we define what the lower level is, right? Now, let's look to the higher level, right? A higher level of intelligence, a higher level of existence, a higher level of discipline, a higher level of spirituality, right? A higher level of conversation, a higher level of compensation, right? To operate at a higher level, it means to operate above the standards. Remember that, we have the standard, which is the baseline, right? Of the beginning point, if you will, right? The origin point. So there's a standard that's here that you can begin to operate beneath, or you can begin to operate above the standards, right? So operating above the standards is what, right? Going beyond, going the extra mile, if you will, as Napoleon Hill famously coined that phrase, right? Going the extra mile. Now,
Going above and beyond is another phrase or term, if you will, right? Where you can begin to understand what it's going to be like to operate at a higher level or at the highest level, right, of self or nature, if you will, right? It's a choice, and you recognize that you have an opportunity to operate at a higher level. So what does that look like? Well, going beyond what's extraordinary. So if you are setting a wake up time, if you will, right, to improve the structure and the discipline of your day, then you have an opportunity to today set a new standard for how you're going to wake up, how sharp you wake up, what time you wake up, the disciplines that you have when you wake up, what you're doing when you wake up. These are things of higher nature, right? Higher intelligence. They require a higher level of intelligence in order for you to execute on these things, right? So whatever that higher nature is, I encourage you to look at, see, okay, how can I operate higher today? Not on a lower frequency, but how can I elevate higher? How can I operate at my highest level of intelligence? How can I operate at the highest frequency that's possible? Well, that means that I can frequently do things that put me into a higher frequency. What are those things that you can do? Well, you can go live, for example. That's one activity that you can start to take on and put into application and see the results that happen in your life. Doing that at a higher frequency can warrant new levels of results, if you will, right? Meaning the more that you tap in, the more that you are adding value to somebody else, right? The more that you will receive in return, and there will be an exchange that's taking place on a consistent basis. So recognize the opportunity to do that on a consistent basis, right? That's one way to exist and operate at a higher level, a higher nature. What's another way? To test yourself, to challenge yourself. Right now, I'm testing myself, I'm challenging myself to push through all the resistances that I've had, right? Maybe today, yesterday, things of that nature, you know, regardless of what those things that are quote unquote holding me down, if you will, like, or not even holding me down, but they're giving me an opportunity to challenge myself, to go through the objectives and the obstacles that are in my path. So one way that I choose to do that is, you know, pushing myself to do these live streams when I don't feel like doing them, right? Today, I didn't feel like doing this, but here I am. Why do I not feel like doing that? Well, because I'm facing another challenge, an obstacle in which I personally put into my path that allows me to grow and push myself beyond what's ordinary or my ordinary level of experience, right? So every single time that I come here, I come back better, right? I come back to IMC TV as a greater reflection of myself, right? I know I expanded. I know I challenged myself throughout the cycle before, right? So that now I can measure again, and I can see, man, I'm much more clear with my communication. I'm much more clear with my certainty, if you will, right? I'm more certain in my character because now I challenge myself. I put myself through these obstacles, these challenges that I'm constantly facing and constantly growing through, right? That allow me to evolve, right? So maybe you're asking me, what's the challenge? Myself, you talked about the challenge. What's the challenge that you're going through? Well, the challenge that I put into my reality every single cycle is fasting, right? I fast every single cycle, and that allows me to expand in what? In discipline and what's it called? Valor, if you will. Well, I don't know if that's the right word. Let's find the right word. Allows me to expand in depth, right? I get deeper into my philosophy, right? I get deeper into my practice. I get deeper into my experience of life every single time that I practice this, right? So this allows me, like, these challenges that are consistently challenges for myself, right? They're challenges in the sense of I am constantly putting this into the framework, right, of my existence, the framework of my reality, meaning I'm setting up my own structure, my own matrix, if you will, right? That's allowing me to constantly test myself and constantly grow. I was doing some research on, fasting and things of that nature. And one of the very fascinating facts that they were discussing, they're talking about the science of fasting, is that every single time that you put yourself in a position to, or every single time that I put myself in a position to grow through the practice of fasting, what's happening is there's a lowering of my testosterone, there's a lowering of my, oftentimes there's an increase, right, of the stress or the cortisol that's in the system, right? There's a lowering of my energy, if you will. There's all these things that are taking place, right, that are falling into sequence, right, with this natural process. However, what's so fascinating to me is the process of reintegrating when you start eating again, right? It's called the refeeding process. After you have dedicated yourself to some kind of fast, if you will, right? This is my second time I'm doing upwards of 48 hours, right? You know, at some point in my history, I had never done a water fast that lasted beyond just one day, right? So I decided to test myself. I did it, I want to say 3 cycles ago, right? Where I tested myself and I did 48 hours of the fast, right? Or no, that was 2 cycles ago, right? This time around, I'm going to push myself and go beyond that 48 hours and go to my goal. My objective is to go to 72 hours, right? But what's so important to know and understand is that the refeeding process, right? After you're finished the fast, right? How you integrate back into eating again is so important to the process. Why? Your body is constantly making corrections. It's adjusting. It's evolving in the sense of it's going from the state of constantly ingesting and putting things into its system, right, to process and feed off of, to now I'm in a place where I'm detoxing almost, right? I think detox is probably the best word, right? So I'm detoxing myself. I'm detoxing myself from the things in which I was putting into my system on a consistent basis, right? So foods, drinks, you know, anything except for water, right? Everything else that I put into my system, which is not much. I don't put many processed foods. You know, I think there's only one processed food that's in my livings, right? I don't call it diet, I call it living. There's only one processed food that's in my livings right now, and it's the bread that we eat here at the base, right? So aside from that, oh no, that's not true. There's other chips and things of that nature, right? There's levels to it, right? Without going into my whole livings, essentially knowing and understanding where you have the ability to readjust and refine your personal process of how you elevate your consciousness on a consistent basis, right? So a part of that, once again, is putting challenges in your way. When you put challenges in your way, you are taking a step ahead of life, because life will bring you challenges automatically. Whether you are aware of it or not, you're constantly going to run into these challenges and these obstacles and objectives that have the potential to stop the momentum of which you're moving at. However, when you are operating with a level of insight, knowing that you have momentum that you're building up on a consistent basis, and you seek to go beyond that surface level of experience, and you seek a deeper level, you seek growth, you seek expansion, you seek the evolution of self, the evolution of your consciousness, then you're going to go through those obstacles without remorse. You're going to go through every objective, everything that comes in the place of your growth. You're going to use those things. Imagine you were on a path. Imagine you were walking and you were doing something, right? You were going somewhere. Imagine that on your path, you recognize that there's an obstacle, like a big ass boulder, right? That's blocking you from continuing to go on the path. So if this big ass boulder is in your path, what are you going to do next? This big boulder that's in the way is in the way, and you cannot go around it. You cannot go beneath it. What are you going to have to do? You're going to have to find a way to overcome, to go over that obstacle, to go over the situation and circumstance that's been blocking you. Now, how are you going to go over? Well, you cannot go over operating in a lower nature. So your objective, first and foremost, is defeat that lower nature. And the way that you do that is to decide to operate at a higher nature. Now, operating at a higher nature means embracing those obstacles, embracing the things that stand in front of your evolution. You're not going to overcome that situation and circumstance operating at the same level. You have to elevate. You have to grow. You have to challenge yourself. You have to know that nobody else is going to do this work for you. This is the work that you personally have to do and commit yourself to in order to truly see the results, in order to truly manifest the reality that you seek. The one that you know and nobody else knows. I'm talking about that inner reality, that inner space that is so sacred to you that nobody else will be able to get access to. Nobody else can do that, but you can. You have the ability to do that. You have the ability to focus your mind on what it is that you want and move towards that. It starts with defeating that lower nature. Now, that lower nature is going to constantly pull you, right? It's going to constantly lure you in, right? Meaning that, hey, man, it'd be great to eat right now. But that's not my highest nature right now. My highest nature is to stay disciplined, stay dedicated to my process and know and understand everything is going to work out exactly how I desire it to, because I'm the one that's scripting my life. I'm the one that's deciding, okay, this is how I want to exist. This is how I want to move. This is how I want to be. This is how I want to feel throughout my reality. Right? So I encourage you, whoever's that's listening and tapping in, really look at that. Look at that, your lifestyle, your situation, your circumstances that you're facing, and know and understand that you have a choice to operate in a lower nature, meaning, you can't continue to have meaningless sex, if you will. Right, that's a lower nature activity. You can continue to bump that music that's of the lower nature, meaning that it has no lyrics that are aiming to elevate your consciousness. It's just music. It's just and then there's no such thing as just music, right? I realize the flaw when I say that, right? There's no such thing as just music. Every piece of music, every contribution that is combined with the different elements and instruments and things of that nature, every single one of those is meant to, be put out and to take you to operate at a certain level and a frequency, right? So that's a lower nature frequency. To eat, the processed foods, the McDonald's, the Burger Kings, the Pizza Huts, the Little Caesars, you know what I'm saying? All these processed foods that have nothing to do with your nature, your natural essence as a being here on this planet, not just a physical being, not a human being, but also a spiritual being. We are a combination of both the physical and the spiritual. So recognizing the connection between the physical and the spiritual, you have an opportunity to take the responsibility to change the circumstances in which you're operating at right now, by the foods in which you're putting into your system, by the music that you're listening to, by the things in which you're constantly ingesting, and the energy that you're exchanging with your world, right? There's this duality that's constantly taking place. We live in a universe of duality, universe of polarity. Recognizing that, you recognize your responsibility once again. You have a responsibility to choose to operate in your higher nature or your lower nature, to respond differently when this communication line, and then to respond differently in this communication line. You have an opportunity every single moment, this moment right now. You can choose to think with a higher nature, a higher level of intelligence, or you can think with that lower nature, that lower level of intelligence. You're like, man, this motherfucker don't know what the hell he's talking about. This dude don't know what he's talking about. This girl, thinks that she's all that. This guy thinks that he's all that. Man, I'm gonna eat however I want to. I'm gonna have sex with whoever I want to. I'm gonna smoke what I want to smoke. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna just operate how I know to. Well, what you know, get this, family. What you know is of a lower nature. It's of a lower intelligence. Because why? Because somebody else taught you how to do that. Somebody else taught you how to be and act and feel and move and speak. Somebody else taught you how to be. Somebody else taught you how to do. Somebody else taught you how to interact with life. But when you step into your power, when you step into your greatness, you recognize that you have an opportunity to live differently. You have an opportunity to operate at a higher frequency, at a higher vibration. You don't have to stay subject to the lower nature. You don't have to operate with a lower sense of intelligence. You can operate in your highest intelligence. It's a choice. It's a choice to listen to the music that you listen to. It's a choice to eat the food that you eat. It's a choice whether you meditate or not every single day. It's a choice whether you work out every single day or not. These are choices that you're making on a consistent basis. And when you recognize your choice, you take back your power. You are more powerful than you realize. You have an opportunity today to change the way that you are communicating, to change the way that you are operating, to change the frequency, the conversations. You can change these things. You don't have to stay subject to what they taught you. You don't have to respond with violence every single time that you get in conversation. You don't have to operate with the intelligence or the essence of, man, let me disrespect this person. Let me do this just because this is what I was taught. This is what I know. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody wants to interact with somebody that's operating in that level. But that's the lower nature, your lower self. So I ask you the question, what would it be like to operate at your highest nature, to operate at your highest self? I think that you're capable of so much more. I think, not only do I think, I know, because I know this reality in myself, I know that you are capable of so much more. You're capable of changing your life by changing the circumstances in which you are cooperating in this world. You can change the way that you can choose to operate around certain people. You can change the way that you choose to evolve around other people. Not only around other people, but also, it first starts with yourself, right? So we always take responsibility of self first and foremost and recognize that I have an opportunity to put out into my world good vibrations, higher levels of intelligence. Let me add value to somebody's life today. Let me deliver some kind of insights to my world of experience, because nobody else is going to do me the way that I'm doing me. Nobody else is going to live at the frequency or the vibration that's I'm capable of doing. Because I have a responsibility to myself first and foremost, and then I have a responsibility to those who are around me. Then I have a responsibility to my creations. These are different dynamics that we're constantly cooperating with. But when you have an insight, when you can see life from the inside out, then you know what it's going to take to defeat every aspect of your lower self, because that's a lower vibration, that's a lower frequency, that's a lower intelligence that you may have been taught to operate at. But you don't have to stay subject to that. You don't have to stay where you are. You can change, you can evolve, you can grow. You can't be exactly who you want to be and do exactly what it is that you want to do. You can operate at the highest frequency possible. You can be exactly who you want to be and do exactly what it is that you want to do. There's nobody stopping you. Except what? Except who? Except the person that you see in the mirror. This is a deal between you and you. You got to make a choice, though. You got to decide. Yo, I'm not going to operate at my lower frequency anymore. I'm going to operate at my highest level of intelligence. I'm going to give as much as I can give. I'm going to do everything I know to do. I'm going to provide value. I'm going to do the things that nobody else can do for me. Let me be the example. Let me be the role model. Let me be the person that people come to when they really want to know what it's like to operate at the highest level of intelligence, the highest self. I don't call myself master myself to operate in my lower nature. Doesn't make any sense. I came here to be who I decide to be. I came here to do the things that nobody else will do for me. And that's to correct my mistakes in life. That's to correct the things in which I see that's not in alignment with my highest desires, my highest purpose in this life. See, I realized that very early on, I realized that nobody else is going to do what I had to do, right? Nobody else is going to step up and be in my shoes. So I recognized that, and I took on the name, the framework, if you will, the matrix, the ideal of Master Myself. So that being said, I know that it's my duty, it's my obligation to live up to that. Therefore, I'm constantly, every single day, going to operate with that intention. Meaning that I'm going to be exactly who I know I can be. I'm going to do exactly what it is that I know I can do. I can push myself. I can go beyond the limited frame that I have been operating with in my lower nature, my lower intelligence, my lower self, if you will, right? I can go beyond that. I can push myself, right? So that's how I do it. I always seek to push myself beyond that last level, right? And when you're constantly going past the levels in which you first started at, right? If you're constantly seeking that growth, right? That evolution, the expansion, if you will, and you're consistent in that, you see there's a space where you literally take on that, you take on that higher consciousness, right? You take on that responsibility and you say, you know what, I'm going to respond differently from this moment on and let nothing come in between that, right? So that's where you fine tune that process of deciding between that lower nature and that higher nature, that lower self and then higher self. Nobody else is going to respond, or nobody else is going to take on that responsibility, or nobody's going to respond differently for you. That's you. That's your choice. I mean, every single day you're making that choice, and every single day. Once again, like I was saying earlier, I didn't want to come on here, didn't want to do this live, but I had a choice. Exercising that choice is where you make the difference. That's where you change. That's where you grow. That's where you evolve. How are you going to evolve? How are you going to grow? How are you going to challenge your quote unquote better nature? Show up every single day. Every single day. Stay committed to the process. Don't let nothing come in between that. And know and understand, recognize nobody else can do me better than me. Nobody else can do you better than you. That's a philosophy in which I live by, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up for the day. Well, on this platform, IMC TV, and I'll be going live later on the Self Code. Like I said, I've been doing that every single day, so y'all can come tap in, get a lot of gems. A lot of people getting the views and things like that after the fact. So, one of the things that stick out to me about myself, at least, my commitment to evolving, my commitment to my evolution is contagious, right? It's contagious for others. So I know that my consistency, my discipline, my frequency of taking these actions and going live, for example, or waking up on time, or staying dedicated to my process every single day, looking to add value to others every single day, whether it's through Instagram, YouTube, in person, in my activities when I'm going out and providing services across the valley and things of that nature. All of these are different reflections of me, if you will, right? I have an opportunity to witness the value in my activities, right? And see how that translates to other people. I see how that, bleeds onto somebody else's life, and that helps them to change and transform, right? So know and understand you're making a difference in somebody else's life as much as you're making a difference in your own life. By the activities that you have on a consistent basis, and when you line these activities up with your higher nature, who can stop you? You pick up momentum, you pick up a frequency, you pick up a vibration in this life that is unstoppable, right? And that's how you go about doing that. All right. So as always, it's an honor to tap in here on IMC Nation, IMC TV. Look to all the shows, not just this show, The Master's Table, but also every other show, every other man is stepping up and hosting these shows. They're providing some kind of value, some kind of perspective that maybe you haven't taken on yet, right? So I encourage you, take that on, take on the new perspective, take on a new film of reality, and look to see how can you grow today. Not how you're going to be stopped today, but how can you grow? How can you out-create what was happening yesterday? Keep on that perspective, keep on that lens to your reality, and look for a year from now and know and understand you're going to be completely changed, completely different, an evolved version of self. You're going to operate at your highest version of yourself. All right. So it's the one and only Mastermind Self tapping out from INC Nation. Be the best and fuck the rest. Knowledge of self is knowledge of wealth. It's the one and only Mastermind Self tapping out. Salute.